Good morning, traders. Matrix here, and here is my recap for December 6th, my small account challenge. Today, I took one trade on AMD, and I talked very thoroughly about AMD yesterday or last night in my watch list. So it was a good trade. So let's get on with it. As you can see, it's a winning trade. I made only $34.50, but it's not about the money as I talk about on a daily basis. Trading when you're just starting, or when you're trading a small account, or when you're just a beginner or learning trader, it's never about the money. It's always about the process and making good trades, because it's basically the money or the gains, the monetary gains, is basically just a byproduct of you repeating something over and over again, like making good trades over and over again. So, with that said, today's trade on AMD, fantastic. Let's get into the tickets here. I traded 7 tickets. It was basically one short trade, 7 tickets, and in the middle, I added back some, and basically, eventually, I got stopped out at the end. So let's get into the idea of it. Last night on my watch list, I called out AMD to be coming down to this 20 area, and there were a few marks I was talking about on my watch list. If you haven't watched my watch list, you can go back into my nightly watch list channel and watch me talk about AMD. I said mark off resistance area on 2150 and resistance area 2190. And then I talked about the support area at 2070, support area at 2050, and support area at 2030. Okay. The futures were gapping down last night, and I talked about that as well. And I also talked about the SPY coming down hard, gapping down. I was looking for a pop and drop, and that was the main idea, pop into a major resistance area. Now, as I was in bed last night, I couldn't sleep, and I saw the futures gapping down and AMD gapping down to 1975. So initially, my thesis was for a pop into this 2190 area last night, but since it gapped down so hard on my Facebook page, I changed my thesis and I said look for 2050, and then look for a drop from there. Now, obviously, at the open, this thing popped up right from the $20 mark into 2150. Noting 2150 was basically what I called for last night. It never reached. It got to 2140, and it got stuffed from there. I was watching this all the way. My plan was to watch for 2150. So my idea was a parabolic short. Basically, as I watched this thing run up for the first 5 minutes, I started in here. So I started in 50 shares at 2098 here at the whole dollar mark. And I was thinking basically it might or might not reject at this yesterday's closing price. So that's why I started in. And sure enough, I started in, it popped up a little and failed, but it got ran back up, which was okay, because my main plan though was to watch for 2150 and get the hell out. So 50 shares was a starter size for me. A main size, the max size I was gonna spend today was about 200 shares. Okay, because yesterday or Tuesday when I was trading 400 shares, I find myself a little antsy, emotional, and kind of shit in the bed when the stock was going against me. So I reduced it to half size, max size at 200 instead. So 50 shares is basically quarter size and the starter size for me. So I started in on this parabolic move up, and then as it came up some more, I added another 50 shares here at 21.25, and my plan was still looking for that 21.50 rejects. Okay, and that was the main plan in mind. So it never got there. It came down, and then from here, when it came back down, I covered half of it to alleviate my risk a little bit at the $21 mark. Okay, so it basically popped right under, and then I saw it come back up and retrace, so and recovered. So that's why I took off half, and then now I'm just sitting there watching it. As I watch the stock, the plan is still in play on 21.50. So as I watch this come back up and make a quick double top here at the 21.40 area, and once it fell to 9, I drew out this trend line. Once it failed, I basically shorted it and added back in 50 shares here. Okay, and by this time right here, by this time I my average was $21.20. Okay, after I added this. Now, once I added this, everything was basically history. It was basically just sit and watch, right? Still following the plan of $21.50, and as it pops up, I'll probably add a couple more hits on there to max size it, but it never gave me a chance. So it just failed. And then once it failed this VWAP, it tagged, and I paid myself because it tagged and popped over VWAP a little bit. And as you can see, right about here, if I draw this horizontal line across, it's basically the same area as this, right? So I didn't want this thing to reclaim on me, and then I have to go through the stress of looking for a spot to add again. I might as well paid myself right here. I took 50 off at the 21 whole dollar mark. Okay, and then we just sat and just watched it. I saw it fail VWAP again and came down. I was also looking for an ad spot, but at this point in time, it's getting a little late in the trading day, the first hour and a half. So I was getting pretty primed and ready to just call it and just let this thing ride out. So once this failed VWAP, it came down again, and then essentially it hit this $20.60 area where it had signs of struggling, of coming down some more. Now, I marked off this $20.60 mark. It's because it's, if I zoom back, it's the pre-market high, as you can see on this green line. It's the pre-market high. So I'm thinking if it struggling there, the stock might bounce there. So I took another half off, another 25 shares right here, and basically set my stop at 20.86. So that would be a little bit above here, a little bit above this, I think 20.86. Okay. Right. Now, why 20.86? Simple. 20.86, if I draw a horizontal line across, it's basically the low of this, a little bit higher than this low right here, the morning first low. So I basically set a stop a little bit above this, and if the stock recovered, I would have stopped out. Otherwise, I was just going to hold this last 25 shares, and I talked about this with my mentor in the chat room. And oh, let me move this trend line back down. Where is this trend line? Oh yeah, this trend line was originally, well, hold on. This trend line was originally here. All right. Now, I was talking about swinging this last 25 shares with my mentor, and he's like, sure. I mean, if you have the conviction to swing it, go ahead, since your entry and your average was so good. My average was still at $21.20. Now, by this time, basically my whole trade was pretty much done. So I just held this 25 shares. If I had set my stop to break even at 21.20, this trade is probably still going right now. However, the stock came back up and stopped me out. I set a hard stop and stopped me out here. And as you can see, this is where AMD is right now, right at the $21 mark. We are still following this major downtrend from this morning. At this point in time, when it came down to the 2130s, which I called last night as a key support. I had 25 shares left. I could have took it off, but I was basically riding it, and I got greedy. I was looking for the big home run play. My home run play was basically take it for the bonus all the way down to 1850s here. So I was looking for something like this on the daily chart in this area for a long a swing for a couple days, or if not till tomorrow. Now, the big thing I want to talk about is this trend line right here. I used to have a lot of problems holding a stock long enough and letting my winners ride. And I remember at the beginning when I first joined Trick Trade and I followed Pat, have him as my mentor. He basically, I asked him this question. I told him I'm having a lot of trouble holding on to my winners. What do I do? And this one quote stuck to me. He basically said this one line. He's like, Matrix, as long as the stock is holding its trend, you hold that fucker till it makes you the fucking bank, right? And this really resonated with me. I basically just held this all the way through. He actually took the same trade today on AMD, and he took some put options, and I believe his average was 21.25. So he had like about a 5 cents average better than me, but he paid himself and he took it all off around this area here once the trend snapped over here, and he was done with it. With me though, I was looking for the big home run play. So, and because of the fact that I had only 25 shares left and I paid myself, I basically wrote this thing all the way down. I didn't really care for the last 25 shares, so I held on to it. But he's right though. I mean, he's definitely right. Look at this trend line, beautiful. He himself never paid himself all the way down here until around the 2050 area. I think he took a little bit off, and then he got out of the rest over here at this spot. But he's absolutely right when he was talking about the trend. I mean, look at this. Once the trend broke, this thing basically just shot up, right? And this could have been a trade. I mean, if I was a better trader, this right here is a massive 70-cent gain. If not, it's still going. It's going to test this trend line. So definitely listen to him. If you want to learn from one of the best out there, you can check my video link description in the bottom. You'll have a link to his membership. Use a discount code. You'll have his free YouTube channel as well, where he puts out a lot of free content. Now, with commissions here, I traded 7 tickets. Tomorrow today I'm gonna close out the day with $24. Like, seriously, it's nothing, but all in all, it's a great trade. All right. Looking back, if I wasn't looking for this home run trade, I would have took it off right here at the breakout of this trend, when it came up over, came down, and it showed me that it held right here. Right? So I want to zoom in on this candle. I would have gotten out right at this doji candle once it held, and it bounced off the 9 EMA, also a key level here, and I would have just took it off, because basically this is how you're supposed to exit the trade. You see the trade break out of a trend, you wait for the few candles to pull back and decide whether this thing is going to change direction or not. If this was going to continue to go down, the next candle would have just came down, but no, it didn't. It basically held. This candle was the big key here, the big clue where you should have gotten out. Okay. So that's basically it. That's my trade recap for the day. If you like what you watch, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, check out the 4 videos in my playlist there. I believe I call it learning and lessons. Those are very, very key videos that you should watch if you're a learning trader. Some great recaps and some lessons that I learned myself and that I taught when I was a moderator in a previous room. So those are very nice lessons that you should watch, and have a great day. Thanks.